play your role well in the drama of life. It is wise to strive to do God's will in everything, because that is the way to peace of mind and happiness. If you deeply ponder it, you will see that this is a colossal thought. A vast cosmos of the different forces of nature is tied together by God's directing power. Everything works in mutual harmony with the divine plan. We are a part of that universal scheme, just as important as the sun and the moon and the stars. We have to do our part. We must play the role that is assigned to us by the divine, not what we want to play. When you use your own willfulness in opposition to the will of God, you spoil this drama. You do not contribute your share to fulfill the great plan of this universe. Why not say, let me do what God wants me to do? I think you will be much happier, much more peaceful, much better off. There will be greater joy in your life when you strive to please God, not self. When you awaken in the morning, affirm, Lord, I offer this day unto you. The little ego no longer holds sway in this body. You alone dwell here. As soon as you begin to find God within yourself, you will also behold Him in others. Then you can't hate anyone, because you see Him enshrined in all body temples. It is a beautiful way to live. In everything we do, we should think of God. In loving and serving our country, our family, and other loved ones, we should love Him above all else. He must be first in our hearts and in our lives. That is why He has declared in the 10 Commandments, Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Be in the world, but not of it. The Lord did not create this world to torture us, but to test us. The purpose of this test is to see if in carrying on our material duties we can still keep our minds centered in Him, if we can learn to be in the world, but not of it, not absorbed or lost in its materiality. This is the example given to us by Lord Krishna, Lahiri Mahasaya, and King Janaka. The Bhagavad Gita says that he is not a yogi whose renunciation is solely outward, nor is that man a yogi who forsakes dutiful actions. Some spiritual aspirants renounce sex, money, and material desires to enter a monastery or ashram, and then want to renounce constructive activities also. However, in the ashrams of my guru, Swami Sri Yukteswari, we were given more work than we would do even for a family of our own. In family life, as a rule, one works primarily for himself and a few loved ones, whereas in a hermitage one works purely for God. But in the world, also, one can live only for God if he changes the center of his consciousness. Live in the consciousness of God. Yoga is the art of doing everything with the consciousness of God. Not only when you are meditating, but also when you are working, your thoughts should be constantly anchored in Him. If you work with the consciousness that you are doing it to please God, that activity unites you with Him. Therefore, do not imagine that you can find God only in meditation. Both meditation and right activity are essential, as the Bhagavad Gita teaches. If you think of God while you perform your duties in this world, you will be mentally united with Him. Cease to think that you are working for yourself. Find God by striving to make your daily activities less identified with me and mine and more identified with God. Each one of you can feel that you are performing all your activities in the consciousness of God, for example, by eating not for yourself, but to look after the body temple in which God resides, by doing your work not with the idea of personal gain, but as a service to God and with the thought of God. Feel that the care of those souls who are in your charge has been assigned to you by God's will. The test of whether your life is lived for God alone is that you do not grieve over any frustrated personal desire, but only when you have displeased God. I take better care of others' things than my own. Because I perform all actions for God, I do them with more ambition and care than I would for myself. And if the results of those actions go wrong, I don't suffer personally, because I acted only for Him. I did my best, and I will try again with greater joy and determination, but without attachment to my efforts and their outcome. If I were working for myself, I would be worrying all the time. But since my object in working is only to serve God, the results are His, not mine. This is the way to transcend the law of karma. Though I am called upon to perform all kinds of duties, I do not feel at all attached to anything I do, so I do not feel bound by anything. Every person should live in this way in order to know that this world is not his home. We are here for just a little while. So do not trust this life, for it will deceive you. Trust only in the immortal, who is behind your temporal earth existence. You think that here is your home, here is your country, here are your loved ones, but when you leave this world, not even your body is your own. You are not sent to earth to become hidebound in moods and habits, and enslaved to the environment in which you find yourself. If you had complete control over your life, I would say, go on, do as you please. But you do not have that absolute control. No one does until he becomes a master. You were sent here to find God. But without direct contact with God, no one can know him. So the real art of living is to be a yogi, he who has united his soul with spirit in meditation, who has inwardly renounced everything, who practices the presence of God, and who performs all dutiful actions with the thought of God. You see that I am not telling anyone to neglect his duties. Look after everything entrusted to you, because God has given you those duties, but be non-attached. Realize, even as Jesus did, my kingdom is not of this world. That which lies beyond this creation of 3 dimensions is your real home. As often as I look upward into the spiritual eye, I am in that other world. Do you think it is impossible? It is not. Right here and now you can live in that other world. God is realizable. He can be coaxed to talk to you. But to hear his voice requires spiritual effort and self-discipline. Stand unshaken amidst the crash of breaking worlds. Periodically throughout its history, the world has gotten into a mess. During times of war, it becomes a torture chamber for millions of human beings. True happiness, lasting happiness, lies only in God, having whom no other gain is greater. In him is the only safety, the only shelter, the only escape from all our fears. You have no other security in the world, no other freedom. The only true freedom lies in God. So strive deeply to contact him in meditation morning and night, as well as throughout the day in all work and duties you perform. Yoga teaches that where God is, there is no fear, no sorrow. The successful yogi can stand unshaken amidst the crash of breaking worlds. He is secure in the realization, Lord, where I am, there thou must come. When not all the pain of this world, nor even the sufferings of Hades can affect you, you are king. And that is what you must be. Breaking the limitations of this frail human body, you must manifest immortality. In his poem, Marching Light, the great Saint Swami Ram Tirtha wrote, I hitch to my chariot the fates and the gods, in the voice of thunder, proclaim it abroad. Liberty, liberty, liberty. Aum. Hail, O ye ocean, be dried up, depart. That is to say, before the marching light of your soul the ocean will be dried up, and mountains will stand aside. Beware, O ye mountains. Stand not in my way. Your ribs will be shattered and tattered today. Think of that. Only the liberty of the soul is all-conquering, and it is all-satisfying and ever newly joyous.